Orange County Math Council. I want to let you guys know I do a lot of work with Q. I'm on the Q Conference Planning Committee. I'm also the CTA ambassador to California Math Council. So I do a lot of work with California Math Council as well. I'll be presenting again in November in Palm Springs. And today I'm going to be telling you about Cyber Sandwich for math. So these are EduProtocols. The Cyber Sandwich came from the original EduProtocol book and then is back again in the math edition of EduProtocols. And I'm going to show you Cyber Sandwich for math. I already put the link in there. And Omar, if you want to keep putting the link back in as people need it, it's bit.ly/Morales Cyber. And I would like you guys to go ahead and take a look at that so that you can follow along with what I'm going to do in the presentation. So let's check it out. Okay, so here's how Cyber Sandwich works. Cyber Sandwich is an EduProtocol, and this is like a recipe card, if you will, for how to create a Cyber Sandwich. A Cyber Sandwich is an activity for 2 students, so they're going to work in pairs. And there's a 5-slide deck. So I use Google Slides, and I create for each student 5 slides, and I'll show you how those 5 slides are going to work. Then I give them one source. I like to use Cyber Sandwich for word problems in math. So the source is going to be a word problem. And then what's going to happen with the students is they're going to get a chance to read the word problem, think about it, think about how they might begin solving it. Both students will do that individually on their own. And then they'll have a chance to talk to each other and say, well, this is what I think the problem's about and how I'm going to solve it and what I think is important. And then the partner will say, well, you know, this is what I think is important. This is how I'm going to solve it. And they do like a Venn diagram where they see, you know, what did each person have and what do they have in common in reference to the important aspects of how they're going to solve this problem. And then, and only then, after they get a chance to discuss and collaborate with a partner, then they go on to slides 4 and 5 and actually solve the problem. So let's take a look. I want to just emphasize that the actual problem solving happens after the Venn diagram. You know, as I mentioned, I've been teaching math 26 years, and we've all been there where we read the word problem to the student, we highlight the keywords, we underline the keywords, and we think the students know what this problem is about. But then when they go to solve it, it's very clear that they don't know what the problem's about, or they're doing the wrong math operations with the numbers. It wasn't a addition problem, it was a multiplication problem, right? So Cyber Sandwich, the way I use it is to hopefully, by thinking about how they want to solve it and then sharing with a partner before they ever even solve it, I'm hoping that that dispels some of the things that could go wrong and helps them really understand the problem before they attempt to solve it, because I don't want them to get the right answer to the wrong problem. Yeah. So given that, let's take a look. And I talked about this in my last session. I'll hit on it briefly. I'm so glad that Kim Bogie brought this up. She made this awesome infographic. If you're getting the EduProtocols Math Edition book, what's really cool about it is to know that it's not something extra on top of what you're already trying to do, right? When Common Core came out, along with all of our grade level standards, were also the standards for mathematical practices, things like giving opportunities for students to make sense and persevere in problem solving, for giving students opportunities for modeling with mathematics, and constructing viable arguments. What's really cool about this graphic is it shows you for each type of EduProtocol what mathematical practices you're going to be able to hit with that protocol. So pretty cool graphic. Thanks, Kim Bogie. I also talked about this briefly at my last session. The True Math Framework, this comes out of UC Berkeley, and it talks about the 5 dimensions of powerful classrooms. And as you're designing lessons and thinking, how am I going to best deliver this content? If you want a powerful math classroom, the 5 dimensions are here. And the first thing should be high level, high quality math content with rich word problems that allow students opportunities to really grapple with the ideas. And as you plan your lesson, whether it be an EduProtocol or something else, you really need to think about to what extent does your lesson give students the opportunity to grapple with the ideas, not just copy down what Mrs. Morales writes on the board, because that's not really thinking. That's just mimicking. That's just note taking. So how can we provide opportunities for them to grapple with the math? How do you give equitable access to all your students, so that it's not just a small group of, the quote unquote smart kids in the front of the classroom doing all the talking, but how can you intentionally and purposefully create lessons that give opportunities for all students to engage? That's equitable access to the content. The last thing I think about when I'm planning lessons is, to what extent is my lesson going to allow students to take ownership and agency and create their own identity as a mathematician? If I do all the work for them, they're not going to develop in that way. They're just, again, going to just copy down whatever I do. So EduProtocols really allow for this 5 dimensions of a mathematical classroom, because it's just kind of built in, because in EduProtocols, students are doing the creating, students are doing the thinking, students are doing the talking. And it makes it easy for you as a teacher to give a quick formative assessment just right on the spot, because you'll be able to give comments and feedback as students do their presentations and share what they learn. So given that, I want to show you about Cyber Sandwich. So again, Cyber Sandwich is an activity for 2 students. You create a 5-slide deck for each group of 2. You give them one source. I like that source to be a math problem. And then they read, compare, talk, and write about it. Again, here's some typical word problems that we may have seen or used something similar to in our class. And if you even just look at this first one, it's a 5th grade word problem. It says Flyaway Airlines has 3 flights to New York City every day from Sandoz. Each plane sits 400 passengers. On Monday, the first flight had 325 passengers. The second flight had 387 passengers. The third flight had 221 passengers. How many empty seats were there altogether? I mean, that's a lot of information for a 5th grader, right? And they might actually leave after reading that, not know exactly what this problem's about. Right. And if you just jump in the math and say, okay, we're going to start doing the math, they might copy it down, but can't actually apply the math skills to a different problem. So Cyber Sandwich is going to give that student a chance to really think about it on their own and see the critical points of that problem, then talk about it with a partner, and then solve it. So there's a lot of thinking that happens in a Cyber Sandwich before the actual problem solving. You could do some more simple problems that are more visually based, like a which one doesn't belong, or how's the pattern growing. Whatever word problem you do, though, just make it rich enough so students can have a conversation about it. And I think doing it in the Cyber Sandwich method is going to be a lot better than just reading it cold and trying to do the math. So are you guys ready to do a task? Are we ready? Yeah. Okay. Now I just found out right before my other session that I wasn't going to be able to make Zoom breakout rooms. So here's what's going to happen. I see now there's more people here. Right now I have enough groups set up for 12 groups. So Omar, I'm going to stop sharing just for a second here. And this is what I'm going to do. I have some group set up. I need to make, it looks like just like a couple more groups. I'm going to get a couple groups set up. So since I couldn't do the Zoom breakout rooms, let me get just 2 more set up here. Okay. And I'm going to get that. That's enough for 14 people. And get this one open. Anyone with the link can edit. Okay. Okay, I got a few set up. Here's what I'm going to do. And I'll get a few more set up. Okay, so let me get back here. Normally, let me share my screen again. Okay, so we're going to do this Cyber Sandwich. Normally what happens in class is you make a slide deck and you tell students, hey, they can go ahead and make a copy. So you have them work in pairs and you tell one student, you put your slide deck in your LMS, whether that be Canvas or Seesaw or Google Classroom, whatever it is, you make your master copy and then you just set it up so students can make a copy, tell one person in the group to make a copy of it, and then share it and give editing rights to the other member in the group. Now, before I start giving you the copies, because I made copies for you so you guys can just collaborate silently since we can't talk in a Zoom breakout room, is this first on the Cyber Sandwich, there's always student one notes. So once you get on one of these slideshows, one of you guys will be student one. And this is the Cyber Sandwich task we're doing. It's a which one doesn't belong. And you just look at it on slide one and say, okay, this is what I think is how I'm going to solve the problem. And you write out what you think you're going to do. And then I'm going to come down here because I can look at this quicker. Then on slide two, the second person does the same thing. Once you guys think, now normally in person, you'd have a little bit of quiet time and then you'd talk with each other. We can't do that here because we don't have the Zoom breakout rooms, but once you guys are ready, you can then can come to the middle slide. This is like a Venn diagram where you guys talk about it, where you write down what you have, your friend, student two, write down what they have, and you see what you guys have in common. And in real life, you would be talking about it like, oh, here's what I thought. Oh, that's what you thought. Oh, we both thought this might work. And then you come to an agreement and you fill out this Venn diagram slide. And then the students go back individually to do their solution in their write-up. So student one goes back to their student writing and solution slide, and student two does their writing and solution slide. So the modality of the Cyber Sandwich is each person gets time on their own on their note page. They talk with their partner on the Venn diagram page, and then they come back and get more time on their own after talking to actually do the solution. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to give you guys a little time to work. So what I'm going to do is I got this group one. I'm going to start putting stuff in the chat. So this is going to be group one. So let me get group one's. So I need 2 people to jump into group one. There's group one. I need 2 people in a second are going to jump into group 2. So here's group 2. And then this is going to be group 3. Oops. I think I typed the wrong thing. Here we go. And then here's group 3. And then I'm going to get group 4. I need 2 people to go into group 4. And then I'm going to get group 5. And this is group 5. And then I got group 7. Or no, group 6. And then here's group 6. And did I get a group 7 going? Yeah, here's group 7, group 7. Okay, and I'm going to make a group 8 to get 2 more people in. So file, make a copy, entire presentation. I'm going to call that number 8. Okay, and I'm going to get a group 8 going. Okay, so this is going to be group 8. Now I got enough for 16 people. One of the people's me and one of them's Omar. So I think I have enough groups here. I'm going to stop sharing just for a second and I'm going to let you work. Again, normally in person, you'd have time to talk to each other, but you guys will just have to communicate silently through writing. And once you think you're ready to go on the Venn diagram page, maybe you just show up there on that page and say, I'm ready. Maybe you just type it. That way you guys can type with each other. And I'm going to get on some work music. So I'm going to get on like maybe one song to see what you guys come up with. So go ahead and try it out, see what we come up with.
So Kristan, you get about 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes.
Yep. All right, we'll give you guys about 1 more minute to finish writing. I know we're on the kind of the fast track here, but I see some examples already and you guys are doing great. Mhm. All right, I'm going to start sharing my screen again. I know that was a little bit of a tough one because you're supposed to talk with your partner, right? And I thought we'd have Zoom breakout rooms. So nice work, even though you didn't get a chance to actually talk with your partner, but you can imagine in the classroom that during that Venn diagram portion, you would be talking with your partner. And that's the idea is to share ideas before they actually start solving it. I looked at group 3. Hey, who was in group 3? Did they put their names up here? I got Emily, and there was someone there with Emily in group 3, right? So they have their partner names on the front. Hey, Emily, you want to unmute yourself and tell us which one did you think didn't belong and why?
Hi.
Mhm.
We've done these activities, so I was trying to find something fun. So I
Mhm.
said that the nickels didn't belong because they didn't have their heads up. So the pennies, quarters, and dimes are all face up, heads up. And then the nickels are tails up.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then who else was in your group with you?
Me, Nancy.
Nancy. Well, and so what did you come up with and which one didn't belong?
The dimes, as they total 50 cents, and the others total 25 cents.
Okay. So once you guys had a chance to work individually, what did you guys come up with on the kind of the Venn diagram slide?
Well, I believe Emily was the one that wrote the rest.
Mhm.
I was just typing faster.
Yeah. So you said that we both chose a square that had something that wasn't in common with the others, and student 1 looked at the position of the coin and student 2 looked at the total value of the coins, right? So the idea with this is every student's going to see the problem differently. They're going to glean different information that they think's important. Is it important to have the heads up? Or is it important to have the tails up? Is it important to count the coins, the value of the coins, right? So, and students come up with the darndest stuff. If you give them a chance to think, you'll hear like, oh, I never looked at it that way. So that's the idea. In this first step, this is a very simple, which one doesn't belong. But in this first step, we were just asking them to write down their notes, their initial thoughts. Then when they come in the cyber sandwich part, right, then they get to really talk it out with a partner. And then, and I know we are short on time, then they could go and revise their solution and actually solve it. And now you can think about how much richer that student solution would be because they have their thoughts, they got the input from someone else, maybe they even collaborated and came up with a new idea before they solved it, right? So the solving part happens here. I want to show you guys a couple other ideas too that could happen with Cyber Sandwich. If you take a look here, it always follows kind of that same idea of the 5 slides, and then you debrief with your class and you could ask groups to share out. Here's another one that I came up with. This is a 5th grade task called Tons of Trash. And it's like a volume word problem, talks about a newspaper article sending tons of plastic trash to countries like the US. And it's coming across in containers, 60 shipping containers loaded onto cargo ships. And you ask the students to find at least 3 different ways to arrange 60 containers. And those containers are in the shape of a rectangular prism. and represent each arraignment with an expression and a diagram. And on here, I actually included a manipulative. So if you think you want to, as part of the problem, include a manipulative to help them, you can. Maybe, here I used this toy theater manipulative that allows them to make cubes, right? So that they can actually come up with different ways to arrange 60 containers. So one idea when you're doing these word problems is maybe throw a manipulative in there that might help them solve it. Another idea is later on in my presentation, I have, this is a different cyber sandwich that you have a link to, is what if kids, I teach high school math, and a lot of the equations that we solve, it's not natural to type, right, per se on a computer. Could a student do their work on their solution on a sticky note or on a piece of paper and put that into the Google slideshow? For sure they could, right? So if the situation or word problem you have is more akin to doing on paper, I have students do that all the time. They do their work on a piece of paper and then put the paper in the slideshow for their solution. I don't want the typing to be a hindrance to what they're doing when they're doing cyber sandwich. So cyber sandwich, the idea here is just to make it so that they don't just start solving blindly, but they have an opportunity to think about it, talk about it, and then solve it. And hopefully that makes their problem solving better. And here's some other cyber sandwiches. Some of the ones I showed you, there's tons of trash, 5th grade volume problem, this system of equations, summer jobs. And then I have one here about a cell phone tower from circles. I get a lot of my tasks, I either just make them up, or I get UCube, the Joe Bowler site has a lot of fabulous tasks that would work well with cyber sandwich. If you're not familiar with visual patterns, right? I just want to show you that one. Fawn Win makes that one. They're all visual patterns, and that you can say, what's the next term in the sequence? What's the next term, and how do you know, and explain, and what would be the 4th or 5th term? So maybe you want to use some visual patterns as your cyber sandwich word problem. Kendall Hunt Math, that's the illustrative mathematics. That's where I got the tons of trash one. They have fabulous tasks there. And of course, open middle and which one doesn't belong. So there's opportunities to not just use your curriculum, but maybe pull from some other places to get some high quality word problems. I want to let you guys know, when you look at this slideshow, down at the end, it shows you, where do I get those templates to create a cyber sandwich? If you just go up here where the little arrow is, all the cyber sandwich templates come up. That the template for student 1 notes, student 2 notes, the Venn diagram, student 1 and student 2 solution page, they're all right here so that you can recreate it. I also am on Twitter. I encourage you guys to follow me on Twitter or reach out with questions. So thanks for showing up today. And again, thanks for playing along, even though we couldn't talk to each other because we didn't have a Zoom breakout room. I hope you got the idea of how cyber sandwich could work to heighten student understanding of word problems. And I can't believe I finished on time, 6:39. Whoop, whoop, 1 minute to spare.
Thank
Yep.
you so much.
And
I'm going to stop the
you guys
recording.
got 5 minutes to transition to the 3rd crash course.